If you're listening to this, it means I finally did the bravest and most foolish thing of my life. My name is Eleanor, but everyone calls me Grandma Ellie. You've probably seen me in family videos, sitting quietly on a sofa, smiling in the background, holding a paper plate and looking like nothing truly terrible ever happened to me. That was never true. I'm sitting in my lounge right now on this old blue sofa. The lamp over there is casting a soft yellow circle on the wall. The clock is ticking too loudly, and on the coffee table in front of me is the thing I've been running from for 52 years, a dark wooden box, no bigger than a shoebox, no jewels, no carvings, just plain oak and an old brass lock. If you glanced at it quickly, you'd think it held recipe cards or old birthday cards. It doesn't. This box holds the night that tore my life in half. It holds the 3 names no one speaks in this family: Lily, Thomas, and Stephen. It holds the difference between the story everyone thinks they know and the truth I've been too afraid to say. A few weeks ago, when I had my stroke, I thought I was going to die. Lying in that hospital bed, one side of my face slack, nurses whispering, machines beeping like nervous birds, I realized something awful. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of dying while this story stayed locked inside that box. So when my granddaughter, Lena, leaned over me, I did the cowardly thing. I told her, under my bed, the wooden box, promise me you'll burn it. Don't open it. Don't look inside. Just burn it. She nodded because she loves me, but I saw the question in her eyes. I saw that same stubborn curiosity I used to have. And when they wheeled me away for more tests, one thought pounded in my head. If she burns it without knowing, I die a coward. If she opens it without hearing me, I die a liar. So I came home. I pulled the box out from under my bed. I set it on this table. And before anyone can turn it to ash, I'm going to open my mouth instead. This box didn't start as a grave. It started as a gift. I was 18 the day my father set it on the kitchen table, wrapped in brown paper and tied with rough string. His hands were still red from the mill, sawdust in his hair, apology already in his eyes. Couldn't afford anything fancy, he said, so I made you something instead. I peeled back the paper and saw it. Light oak, smooth corners, my initials carved crooked on the lid, ERH. A hope chest, he said, a small one, for letters, little memories. One day, when you have a family of your own, you'll want somewhere to keep beautiful things safe. I hugged him so hard, he laughed and pretended to complain I'd break his ribs. For a while, that's exactly what it held. Ticket stubs from cheap movies, a pressed wildflower, a note from my mother that simply said, I know I'm tired and cranky, but I'm proud of you, Ellie. It was a box for light. Then I met Stephen Hale. He was 5 years older, handsome in that neat, safe way that makes mothers smile. He worked at the mill too, but in the office, not on the floor. Clean shirts, clean nails, a car that started on the first turn of the key. He opened doors, he asked permission, he listened when I talked about books and cities I'd only seen in magazines. He made me feel like maybe I was more than a mill girl with secondhand shoes. The first letter he wrote me, he slid under the front door early one morning. Dear Ellie, it said, you deserve more than this town. One day, I'd like to be the man who helps you see the world beyond these streets. I read it 3 times before placing it carefully in this very box. You see, that's where the cruelty begins. Our worst tragedies don't start with monsters. They start with the people we thank God for sending us. For a while, life tasted like a sweet song. Stephen took me to the diner on Saturday nights. My father grumbled in that half-joking way fathers do. My mother watched me come home with flushed cheeks and shining eyes and said, "Just be careful with your heart, baby." The first crack was so small, I nearly stepped right over it. One evening, walking home, Stephen said, "You know, I don't like the way the men at the mill look at you." I laughed. "They've been looking at me since I was 12. His jaw tightened. "Maybe you don't notice, but I do. You could dress a little looser, tie your hair back." For me, it sounded like worry, not control. I didn't want to upset him, so I nodded. "That's all," he said, kissing my forehead. "I just want you safe." Then came more. "You don't need that job, Ellie. I can provide." "Why did you talk to him for so long at the store?" "Maybe skip church this week. People gossip." Each request on its own was small enough to forgive. Together, they became a net. When I found out I was pregnant, I told him under the street lamp by our gate. My hands shook, but my heart hoped. I pictured a little house, a crib, laughter. For one moment, his face lit up. "A baby," he breathed. "Our baby." Then his eyes changed. Something colder slid into place. "Good," he said softly. "Now you'll never leave." That was the first time I felt a chill around him. A week later, he brought me a tiny brass lock. "For your box," he said. "You're a woman now, not a girl. Some things should stay between us." He watched as I threaded the metal loop through the hole he drilled in my father's gift. I put his letters inside and closed the lid. He snapped the lock shut. The click echoed in my chest. I had no words for it then, but I know now. That was the sound of a cage, pretending to be love. By the time the first snow fell that year, Stephen had an opinion about everything. How I wore my hair, when I should be home, who I should avoid for my own good. He stopped saying, "I worry about you," and started saying, "I know what's best." My brother Thomas noticed before anyone else. He was 2 years older, broad-shouldered, with grease permanently under his fingernails from the garage. Children loved him, dogs trusted him, and old ladies at church gave him extra slices of cake. He wasn't fancy, but he was solid, steady. One night at dinner, I laughed too loud at something he said. Stephen's fingers dug into my knee under the table, hard enough to leave marks. His face stayed pleasant. Later in the kitchen, Thomas said, "What was that?" "Nothing," I lied. "He's just protective." "That wasn't protection," Thomas replied quietly. "That was a warning." The baby had started to flutter inside me, a tiny heel against my ribs. At night, I'd press my palm over my belly and whisper, "I'll keep you safe, I promise." The words felt big in the dark. The night everything snapped. The wind was howling so loud it made the windows hum. Stephen came in late, smelling like beer and cold metal. He slammed the door hard enough to make my mother jump. "Where were you?" he demanded. "At home," I said. "I've been here all day." "You weren't at work? You weren't at church?" I checked. "Are you hiding something from me?" My father stepped between us. "She said she's been here. That's enough." Stephen's eyes went flat. "With respect, sir, your daughter is my fiancée. Our child is my responsibility." "You don't own her," my father said. Stephen leaned close to my ear. "We'll talk later," he whispered. Alone. That alone made my skin crawl. Sometime after midnight, when the house had gone quiet, I heard a soft tap on my bedroom window. I opened it and nearly cried with relief. Thomas stood outside, breath steaming in the cold. "Pack a bag," he said. "Now." "What?" "I heard him at the garage," Thomas said. "He's asking about cabins by the river." "Private places," he said. "Men like that don't want privacy for anything holy. You and that baby are leaving tonight." "I'm pregnant," I whispered, as if that anchored me here. "That's exactly why we're going," he answered. 10 minutes later, my whole life was in a small suitcase. At the last second, I dropped to my knees, reached under the bed, and hauled out the box. The brass lock was icy under my fingers. "If he comes after us," I told Thomas, "these letters may be the only proof of who he really is." "Then we keep them," my brother said, "until you don't need proof anymore." We drove away with the town lights shrinking in the rear view mirror, the road turning to black ribbon ahead. The farther we went, the easier it was to breathe. When the cabin finally appeared between the trees, squat, crooked, lonely, I thought, this is ugly. But I also thought, this is far. Far felt like safety. I didn't know it was where my heart would break forever. The cabin was rough, but for a little while it felt like a pause button. Thomas patched the worst drafts, brought food, kept the old stove alive. We told our parents I was staying with a cousin to rest before the baby. My mother cried on the phone. I told her I was fine. I was not fine, but I was away. Sometimes that has to be enough. Days were quiet. The river hummed out beyond the trees. Wind pushed on the walls, and I sat on a sagging sofa with my swollen feet up, the box at my side. I stopped reading Stephen's letters, but I didn't throw them away. I wrote new ones instead, little notes to myself that said things like, "Fear is not love," and "You are allowed to leave." I slipped them in among his pretty lies. Lily arrived on a blue-white night when snow made the world glow. We couldn't risk a hospital, so Thomas called in a favor. An older nurse he trusted came in silence, her lights off for most of the drive. Her hands were firm, her eyes kind, her voice the rope I clung to. "You're stronger than you think," she kept saying. "Breathe, one more." When they put that tiny, screaming bundle on my chest, everything went still inside me. Lily's little hand clammed around my finger like she was afraid I'd float away. Her hair was damp and dark, her cry offended and alive. "I'll keep you safe," I whispered, meaning it with everything left in me. For a few weeks, it almost felt possible. The days became a blur of feeding, rocking, half sleep. Thomas built a cradle from scrap wood. He'd rock her and hum, and sometimes I'd find him staring at her like she was both a miracle and a punishment. "We'll figure it out," he'd say. "Work, money, where you'll live, one step at a time." We were careful, curtains closed, no visitors, no fires unless we froze. Thomas parked the truck far down the road and walked the rest. Every crack of a branch outside made me tense. Most of the time, it was nothing. Then one night, it wasn't. The river was loud with meltwater. Lily had just fallen asleep, her tiny chest rising and falling in the cradle. I was bent over the basin, washing dishes, when I heard tires crunch on frozen ground. "Tom?" I called, already knowing it wasn't him. Headlights flared between the trees, then cut out. Footsteps. A voice I knew too well, floating up through the dark. "Ellie? Darling? You here?" My heart stopped. "Stephen." I blew out the lamp. The room sank into orange embers and shadow. Lily whimpered, as if she could taste the change in the air. His knock was soft at first. "Open up. We need to talk. You've had your fun. It's time to come home." Then it became pounding. "You think I'm stupid?" he shouted. Your brother's truck's been seen on this road. Open the door." The frame shuddered. With each hit, dust rained down. I stood between the cradle and the door, shaking so hard my teeth clicked. The latch splintered. The door flew inward. He looked different, thinner, eyes too bright. The polite mask was gone. "There you are," he said, spotting Lily. "And there she is." "Don't touch her," I said. Somehow my voice came out steady. "She's mine," he answered. "You don't get to steal my property." "People aren't property," another voice snapped from behind him. Thomas. He'd come back early. After that, everything dissolved into chaos. Shoving, shouting, a basin of water crashing to the floor. The lamp knocked from its hook, the oil catching like it had been waiting. Flames racing up the curtain. Lily screaming. Smoke swallowing the ceiling. Thomas pushing Stephen toward the door. Both of them slipping on wet boards. A crack, a falling beam, a burst of heat so bright it turned the world to white. Then snow under my cheek. Thomas's hands dragging me. Silence where my baby's cry should have been. When I woke in his truck, wrapped in a smoke-stinking blanket, my arms were empty. "Where is she?" I croaked. Thomas stared straight ahead, the river a dark line beside us. "Where is my baby?" I screamed. "She's gone, Elle," he choked. I tried. God knows I tried. The roof, the smoke. By the time I got back to the cradle, she wasn't breathing. People say a heart breaks. Mine didn't break. It turned to glass and never quite turned back. If you've never lost a child, you don't understand the kind of silence that follows. It isn't quiet. It roars. It shakes inside your bones. It fills every doorway, every window frame, every corner of the room, until you can't breathe. I don't remember the drive back into town. I don't remember walking inside my parents' house. I don't even remember collapsing on the hallway rug. I only remember the hospital ceiling, white, cold, too bright. A nurse pressed a cup of water to my lips. My mother hovered, crying quietly into her sleeve. My father stroked my hair like I was 5 again. And then the doctor asked the question that shattered me. "Miss Hale, where is your baby?" I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. Thomas stepped forward, voice tight. "There was a fire. The cabin caught fast. We barely got Ellie out." "Who else was there?" the doctor asked. Just 1 second of hesitation. One. Then Thomas answered, "No one." I turned my head slowly toward him. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The doctor nodded and wrote something on a chart. A nurse whispered, "Poor girl," as she passed. My mother sobbed harder. My father's jaw flexed, his hand tightening around mine. But the world believed us. Because we stayed quiet. Because the truth was uglier than the lie. Because saying Stephen came after us would have meant police questions, courtroom days, public shame, and the risk that he'd twist the story first. I was young, broken, barely breathing. I didn't have a voice left to fight him. But Thomas, I think the guilt of that day welded itself into his spine. He paced the hospital halls like a man carrying something too heavy to put down. Every time he came back into the room, his eyes were red but dry. He stood beside my bed that night and whispered, "I'll fix this, Elle. I swear on my life, he won't touch you again." I didn't understand what he meant until the next morning. They found Stephen's truck, half sunk near the river, passenger door open, his coat caught in the brush, his wallet floating nearby. The newspapers called it an accident. My family didn't ask questions, but I saw the bruise on Thomas's knuckles, the mud on his boots, The way he couldn't look at me without shaking, and that's when it hit me. My brother saved me, and in doing so, he destroyed himself. That was the beginning of our family tragedy. Not the fire, not the baby, not even Stephen, but the silence that followed, the silence that swallowed us whole. They sent me home after a week. My lungs were still burned from smoke, but my body healed faster than my heart ever could. The house felt unfamiliar. The walls were too thin, the floorboards too loud. Every sound made me think of flames. My mother tried to keep me busy, laundry, cooking, knitting, but whenever I was alone, I'd find myself reaching under the bed and pulling out the wooden box. It became the only thing I could touch without trembling. I took out Stephen's old letters and read them again, not because I missed him, but to remind myself of the signs I ignored. The charm pretending to be kindness, the jealousy pretending to be protection, the anger pretending to be love. I added to the box too, a tiny pink sock from Lily's cradle, the ribbon that tied her blanket, a scorched button from the cabin floor, Thomas's bloody handkerchief from the night they found Stephen's truck. 4 relics of a life that lasted too short, burned too fast, ended too violently. One night, my father found me sitting on the carpet with the box open on my lap, tears dripping onto the letters. He didn't say a word, just knelt beside me, closed the lid gently, and wrapped his arms around me. We stayed like that until the sun crept through the curtains. "Eleanor," he whispered, "some pain needs a place to stay until you're strong enough to carry it." That box became that place, a coffin for memories, a grave for secrets, a weight I thought would drown me if I ever opened it again. And yet, I kept it, not because I was holding on to the past, but because I couldn't let the world rewrite it. People assume grief fades evenly across a lifetime. It doesn't. It hides. It waits. It follows you like a shadow you pretend not to see. When I met Daniel, your grandfather, it was like stepping from winter into early spring, gentle, patient, kind. He never pushed, never pried. He'd ask, "You okay?" and accept yes, even when the answer was no. I told him I couldn't have more children. He held me and said, "Then we'll love the world together." But life is strange, cruel in its timing, generous in its own twisted way, because 2 years later, I was pregnant again, and this time, I wasn't afraid of the father. I was afraid of my own past finding me. When your mother, my sweet Maria, was born, I held her against my chest and whispered, "You're safe." Not because the doctor needed to hear it, not because I needed to say it aloud, but because a part of me still feared Stephen's shadow in the corners of my mind. I never told Maria about Lily. I never told Daniel about the cabin. And I never told anyone about what Thomas did the night Stephen's truck ended up in the river. I raised your mother like the world was full of wolves. No sleepovers, no late night outings, no men near her unless I could see their hands, no walking home alone. She thought I was strict. In truth, I was terrified. Terrified the past would reach forward and grab the one thing left that I loved. The box stayed under my bed, wrapped in old quilts, untouched but never forgotten. Every time I changed the sheets, I felt the presence of it like a heartbeat, a reminder, a warning, a promise I hadn't been brave enough to keep. For 52 years, life was quiet, too quiet maybe. Your mother grew up, married, had her own children. You came along, my Lena, the girl who smiled like sunlight and asked questions like she was born to break curses. Thomas changed too. He drank more, spoke less, In every family photo, he looks like a man who dropped something priceless and never forgave himself. We didn't talk about the cabin, or the fire, or Stephen, or the baby we lost. We became experts at pretending. Then, 3 weeks ago, a letter arrived. No return address, just my name, written in handwriting I knew instantly. Stephen Hales, but that was impossible. He was dead. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single sentence. You can't hide secrets from the river forever. I collapsed onto the kitchen floor, not because I believed he was alive, of course I didn't, but because someone else knew. Someone else had found out the truth. Someone else had seen something they shouldn't have. And for the first time in half a century, I was afraid again. That night, I pushed the box deeper under my bed and cried like I hadn't cried since Lily died. The past wasn't past. It was waiting, watching, and then the stroke hit, so here I am now, sitting on this sofa, speaking into this silence, looking at the box that holds the worst and best pieces of my life. Lena, I didn't tell you to burn it because I want these memories gone. I told you to burn it because I didn't want you to carry this weight, because secrets rot when passed down through blood, because pain spreads like roots underground. But I realize now, I was wrong. Burning the box won't save you. Telling the truth might. Stephen is gone. Thomas has suffered enough. Lily's name deserves to be spoken, and you deserve to know where you come from. Not the pretty version wrapped in silence, but the real one stitched with scars. So this is the truth. I lost a child. I survived a monster. I watched my brother drown in guilt to save me. I lived my life afraid of a man already dead. And I kept a box under my bed for 52 years because it was the only place where the truth could breathe. When I'm gone, keep it if you want. Burn it if you need to. Read the letters, throw them away. Tell your mother, or don't. But don't let my fear become your inheritance. You come from pain, yes, but also from survival, strength, love deeper than fire, and women who refuse to let darkness win. If the past ever comes knocking, Lena, open the door with your head held high. You are braver than I ever was. And now I can finally breathe. Thank you for sitting with me and listening. If you'd like to hear more of my life's untold secrets, subscribe. I still have so many stories to share.